Hey everyone, I'm Jack Watson, UI UX designer, illustrator, animator, connoisseur of donuts, and we'll be working on a skills challenge for St. Patrick's Day this week. Actually, this upcoming weekend. But before we get started, I think it's on Monday? Is St. Patrick's Day on Monday? I think it's Monday. Before we get started, you can find links in the description below this video, including a link to download your files to create along with us today and to our Illustrator Discord community. So make sure you grab that and open it on up in Illustrator. In our starter file, we've got a few notes off to the side. I always like to include some, info for you, some resources, including a little article on different types of Celtic knots and the meanings behind the imagery in them. I've also got a list of the tools that we're going to be going over today. Cody's confirming, yes, Monday. Got it. I felt like it was. Oh, hey, Ryan. Ryan joining over on the YouTube chat. Welcome in, everybody. So, we're going to be doing this all with simple shapes today. I know, it's hard to believe, but we're going to create this whole thing using simple shapes. So, you're going to find all of the shapes in your toolbar. You might have the rectangle as the option that's kind of brought up, but if you click and hold on the shapes, you're going to get a laundry list, a list of all of the different tools you can grab to kind of put together and assemble this. Now, the important thing, no matter what kind of shapes you start with, you just want to have good, for what we're going to be making today, we're going to be making like a knot that's very symmetrical. So we're going to use some of the repeat tools. So, whatever kind of shape you pick, doesn't really matter. We're just going to hold down shift to constrain this to be kind of like a perfect circle, if that makes sense. So maybe it'll make more sense when we get into it here. So let's draw out our first ellipse. You can see, you might notice, I've got these, will there be toruses today? Or make it, yes. Yes, there will, Oliver, in fact. Although not 3D, they'll just be ellipses. So we're making toruses in 2D. So to get started, I've got these little pink indicators. If you go up under view, I've got smart guides checked on. So if you want to use smart guides today, I highly recommend it, especially since it's going to help you kind of later on as we build this, keep everything centered. So I'm going to drag out a shape, holding down shift to constrain it to be a perfect circle. Now we're going to be working with just strokes today, so you don't need to have a fill on this. Over in your toolbar, you can see there's an option for your fill and stroke. And you can click to bring one or the other kind of forward, or you can use these little arrows here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove this fill from this. You can either click on none in the swatches panel, or directly under there's an option for none as well. And that's just going to remove it. And we're going to bump up this stroke a little bit. I'm going to recommend one of two things. You're going to want to open up the stroke options, either in the stroke panel, or if you click on it in the control bar, you can actually get to them from here as well. But we're going to bump up the stroke weight. I'm just going to use my my up arrow on my keyboard. You can see the keyboard key I'm using at the top of my screen. I'm just going to increase it up. And then there's another thing I want to do, and I want to change the stroke alignment to center. So these shapes, this circle in particular, is adding the stroke to the inside of my shape. You can change where that stroke falls by clicking on one of these options. Each one of these icons is going to align it either inside, outside, or to the center. That first one there is the one that we're going to want. You don't have to do this, but I find this a little bit easier to keep track of things and make sure that everything's kind of aligning how you want it to, if you go ahead and do that. So also, shout out to, I think I saw Arif in both chats, but thanks for joining on YouTube, Arif. And the other thing we're going to do is we're going to click to bring the stroke to the front, and we're going to change the color of this. Now, these are not going to be our permanent colors, but they're going to help us when we're doing our intertwine to keep track of all of our lines. So we've got our first shape here, and like I said, we're going to be making something that's symmetrical. So we're going to go ahead and use one of our repeat options. So under Object, you're going to scroll down till you get to the repeat, which is conveniently right below Intertwine, which we're going to look at in a second. And you're going to choose Radial. It's going to give you a whole bunch of circles, but along the side here, you've got these kind of double, let's see if I can get it bigger, these double arrows. That's going to let you increase or decrease the number of circles that you've got. So I'm just going to pull this down. You can feel free to increase it to the number that you kind of want. I'm going to bring it down to 4 to make our lives easier for today, but feel free to make it as intricate as you kind of want here. The other thing is this little circle down here, or up here at the top, not down. This lets you bring your shapes kind of closer together or farther apart. I'm actually going to do it a different way. I'm going to double click into my intertwine kind of group, and that lets me adjust these shapes inside of the group if I want to. So as I move you can see if I move it, it's going to change the position. I'm just going to scale it up a little bit, holding down Shift and Option. So that's going to let me scale things from the center versus if I hold down Shift, you can see it's kind of dragging out from one side. So I'm going to scale it up just a little bit, and I'm going to drag them closer together. I want these shapes to just overlap a little bit. That way we can use the intertwine with it, and it's going to actually, intertwine those shapes, weave them together into a knot, so to speak. So to get out of here, you can either hit this arrow, or you can just hit the escape key. That's going to take you back into your normal mode, not the isolation mode that we were in when we double clicked. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to align this to our artboard. So up here at the top or in your alignment panel, you want to make sure you've got align to artboard chosen under this little drop down here. It'll look like this, the icon will. And once you've got that, you're going to center using the horizontal and vertical alignment icons. You're going to center that in the middle of your artboard. All right, so we've got our first set of shapes kind of set up. How can I make this trick with lines? Othman asks, to form sun rays. All you have to do is draw a line. And you go to Objects, Repeat, Radial, bam. There you go. You can increase or decrease the number of lines just like that. If you wanted to make a sunny radial repeat for your Celtic knot. The next shape we're going to go to is going to be the rectangle. We're actually going to make a square out of this. So using my handy smart guides, I can hover near the center of my shape. It's actually going to show me some pink text that says center directly on it. It's a little bit small to zoom in on here, but trust me, you'll have to try it in Illustrator. And holding down again that Alt or Option key, as well as Shift, is going to let me scale it out from the center. I'm going to change the color of this one so it's easier for us to kind of see as we're going along. So I'm just going to make this one green. And you'll notice that I get these little dots in the corner where I have an anchor point. So anywhere I have an anchor point, I get these little dots here in the corners. So what that is a left corner widget, and I can grab these and I can pull them in to make rounder shapes. So we can kind of create this crazy circular design, but that's not very interesting, right? So you can actually change the type of corner on this. So if we go up to, if I switch to the direct selection tool, you want to, in order to get to this, you're going to want to switch to the direct selection tool, which is kind of the white arrow over here. And I'm going to click on corners up here, and you can see I've got 3 different corner options. So we can either have chamfer corners, which just takes us back basically to our box again, right? Or we can have these inverted rounds, and that kind of gives us this cool sort of starburst look, and it also gives us a lot more opportunities to play with where those shapes interact with each other. So I'm just going to drag to select everything. I'm going to scale this down a little bit using that Alt or Option and Shift to scale it down from the center. And just for funsies, let's add one more shape to this. So from the center, holding on Alt or Option and dragging out, we're going to round these out. No, you know what we're going to do? We're not going to do that. We're going to use another shape. We're going to make this more fun. We're going to go with the star tool. We could drag another one of these out and rotate it, but we're actually going to switch to the star tool in our menu. Dragging out from the center, we're going to change the color of this line. So now we've got everything's in different colors, so it's easier to see. And I want to point out that the star tool is also a live shape. What that means is we've got this little side arrows like we saw before with the radial repeat. Wrong shortcut key there. Oh my gosh, come on, zoom in. I'm trying to get my accessibility tools to activate. There we go. This little double arrow here, that's going to let you drag up and down to, again, add or remove points. So we can add a ton of points to make our starburst really complex, or bring it down to 4 to make it a little bit more simple. And again, I'm going to round these out. So I'm switching to my direct selection tool, and I can round these out sort of as much as I want to. I'm just going to kind of make this, I guess, amorphous blob shape. Feel free to adjust as you see fit. And then I'm going to rotate it. So switching to my regular selection tool, when I hover over the corners, I get a little rotation. My cursor changes to a rotation icon. And if I hold down Shift, I can rotate it 45 degrees. So to get it kind of like so that these round corner edges are kind of extending beyond my circles there. Holding down Shift and Option will scale it up just a little bit. So now you can see I've got a lot of areas where all of these shapes are going to kind of intertwine and play with each other. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to hop over to the Intertwine tool. If you are joining us live, feel free to ask questions in the chat. Happy to answer them either on YouTube or on Behance. We've got a live chat in both places. Also, feel free to leave comments on the replay on YouTube if you've got any questions after the stream, or you're watching the replay and you just want to say how lovely this tutorial is, or just say hi. Anyways, now we're gonna hop into our intertwine. So I've made all of these three separate things, different colors, to make it easier to kind of differentiate between what's overlapping and what's not, going under or over. Oh, one more thing before we get into that. We're gonna expand this radial repeat. So if there are any last minute changes you want to make to this shape, now is the time to do it. We need to expand this before we can use it with the Intertwine tool. So if you want to, for example, let's double click into here, and let's say we wanted to open these shapes up a bit. Let's go ahead and grab our scissor tool. Oh my goodness, where are you, scissor tool? You're under the eraser tool today. I'm just gonna click, and the two areas that I want to open up. I'm gonna get that little tiny path there, and we'll just delete it. So you can open up your path, and you can see that whenever you kind of modify your shape while it's in a radial repeat, that's gonna affect all of the circles. So if you want to make any last minute changes like that, because once we expand this radial repeat, you're no longer gonna be able to make those edits. You're kind of like expanding it into individual objects. So let's actually do that. I'm gonna select my radial repeat, and we're going to go to Object, and we're going to go to Expand. So you can see now here, I've got the option for Object and Fill. I don't have any fills. I just want to expand it to be objects. But actually, let me open up the Layers panel so you can see a little bit better what I mean. So here's my Layers panel. I just dragged it out for you. So you can see here now, this is just a whole group. That radial repeat is a single object. If I go to Expand, and we remove our fill, now I've expanded, I've got a group of circles. So we've expanded that out from being a single intertwine object to individual objects that we can use with the intertwine. Clarissa says, does intertwine work with the pen tool shapes? Yes, it will work if you draw shapes with the pen tool as well. The intertwine is just, it's acting as if it's a single shape. It doesn't know that these individual lines exist, so you can't actually tap on them to switch the order of them, if that makes sense. So before we had that as kind of like one shape, now we can go ahead and we can modify that as if they're individual shapes. Does that make sense, Clarissa? Let me know. All right, so now we're going to select all of this, and we're going to go to Object, and we're going to go to, Object, Intertwine, and we're going to hit Make. And when you do that, you're going to be greeted with this lovely lasso tool selection cursor. That indicates that you are inside of the intertwine mode. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Now, there's a couple ways you can go about doing this. You can just drag, just like you could with the lasso, and create, and those selections are going to be what it comes forward or goes back. And that's a fine way to work. This isn't too complicated, but once you get into things that have a lot of little pieces, I actually find that it's easier. If you zoom way in, if I hover with the lasso, the cursor here, you can see I get this little, I don't know if you can see it very well in the live stream, but there's this little pattern over top of the shapes, and all you have to do is click. And you can just kind of keep clicking back and forth to bring the shapes in front of or behind. So it makes it really easy if you accidentally mess up to go back and kind of oh, I didn't mean to bring that one to the front. I'm just going to go fix it real quick. So that's how I kind of prefer to do it. The other tip I'm going to give you while we start this is, and there's two ways to go about doing this, so I'll tell you both. When you're working, just make sure that you're consistent in the path that you're following. So start kind of here at the top point of this and say okay, I'm going to follow this around, and I'm going to click the red circle is going to come in front of the green point. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to change the order now. The green is going to come in front of the red. So you just want to have an alternating path. So you start here, you go here, and then you click here. So I'm clicking on every alternate point around my shape. So that's kind of one way. The other way is to kind of follow the individual paths themselves. So let's start with this blue line. I'm going to follow everywhere that this blue line interacts with the other shapes, kind of working clockwise. I'm going to click so the green is in front, and we'll leave the red there. And then we'll bring the red in front, and then we'll come down here. Because we have the green in front here, we need to have the blue in front. So you can see that you can kind of click and just make sure that you're following a consistent pattern with this as you kind of go around here, and make sure that you cover all the shapes here. And you can kind of double check if you need to, like go back and look and say, okay, the red is here, now I need the blue here, we need to switch it here, we need to leave that, we need to switch it here, we need to leave it there, we need to switch it there, and just kind of go around. And all I'm doing is I'm just going through and I'm making decisions about where I want these shapes to overlap and where I want them to go underneath. Kind of every other one. All right, let's zoom out. Make sure that we've got everything. All right, looks like we've got all of our shapes kind of overlapping and under. Oh, we missed one. That's why it's important to zoom out. This one, I need to have the red in front. Okay, perfect. Bruce says, hey, it's the Key Man. Welcome in, Keys. Hello, Penny. So now that we've got all of our intertwines kind of in here, and that didn't take long and it wasn't scary, you just kind of, as long as you have the different colors and you kind of follow a consistent pattern, it's really easy to kind of bring things forward and back, right? All right, so now you're thinking, this is great, but I don't like these colors at all, right? So you probably want to make these all kind of a consistent color. But if we do that, if we just kind of select our entire intertwine group and we make this green for St. Patrick's Day, we totally lose all of the hard work that we did. We can't see it at all, right? So what we're going to do in order to keep those intertwines, but also make it look, consistent in a color that we like, we're going to use the appearance panel, which is one of my favorite panels in Illustrator. So we're going to go to Window, and we're going to open up Appearance. Any of the panels on my screen that you are not seeing in your workspace, you can find them in here. And as long as they've got like a little check mark next to it, that means you've opened it up. So we're going to go over here, and I'm actually going to also pull this panel out so it's easier for you to see. And I'm going to have both of these kind of up at the same time because I think it's a little bit easier. All right, so to get started, the appearance panel, you can apply appearance attributes to shapes, like individual paths, to groups, or to layers. So if we were to apply, our appearance attributes to this right now, it would actually apply it to the entire intertwine group. So in our layers panel, I'm actually going to open it up, and with the direct selection tool, either way, you want to just select, we're going to select our blue star shape. Well, it was a star. And now you can see in our appearance panel, we've just got that path selected, and it's just got one stroke applied to it. So in order to do this next part, we're going to add a second stroke to this. So in my appearance panel, I'll actually change the color of this first. So we've got our stroke selected. Whatever you have selected, so in this case, we've got this stroke selected, it's showing up down here as well in our fill and stroke. So if I got that one selected, I can double click on my stroke and then I can change the color. Let's go with purple. I love purple. I love dark purple. All right. So we've got a nice dark purple. I'm going to now add a second stroke on top of that. So down here at the bottom in our appearance panel, you've got options for adding a new stroke, adding a new fill, or adding effects. So in the appearance panel, you can stack these sort of attributes in order to have multiple strokes in this case. So I'm going to click to add another stroke by clicking on that icon. And I'm going to go ahead, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the color. So make sure you've got the stroke selected that you want to change the color of in the appearance panel. And then down here, you can double click into that stroke color and we can change it to like a light green. Now nothing's happened yet. You're like, Jackie, all you did was change the color. It's fine. We're going to go into our stroke size and now we're going to decrease that stroke size. And you can see as I pull that size down, now you can see that larger stroke underneath. Because the layers panel stacks with the option that's above here, the smaller stroke is actually on top of the stroke below it. If I were to rearrange these elements, now we've lost that green stroke. So we need to make sure that we've got things stacked in an order that makes sense. Otherwise, you might not see those changes happen. So now that we've got this set up, and I see you, Robert, I know we've got 6 minutes. We're good to go because we're going to do something that's going to make our lives a lot easier to apply this to all of our other shapes. The other panel that you're going to want to open is the Graphic Styles panel. So under Window, graphic styles. And what we can do here is with our align selected, down at the bottom, I can click on this plus. And now I've added that entire stack of appearance attributes to a graphic style. Now, I do have to apply these to each one of these groups, because if I apply it to my intertwine group, my intertwine object, it actually treats it as a single object. So I applied it to the intertwine object. It's a single object. We've lost the intertwine. So instead of doing that, I'm going to click each one of these groups. I'm going to apply it to each one of these groups. And now you can see I've kept my intertwine, and I've very easily applied my graphic style to make those colors appear on every single one of those groups. And I haven't lost the intertwine. So pretty magic, huh? Holy strokes, Bruce says. Love it. All right. So once you're kind of satisfied with the way that your design looks and you want to get some feedback on it, or you just want to share it with everybody, we're going to go up to File, Export for Screens, and you could choose from this drop-down if you want to save a PNG or a JPEG. I'd recommend one of those for the Discord. We're going to upload this to our Illustrator Discord. We're going to hit Export. It's going to save out to my desktop, and then once you're ready, if you hop over to our Illustrator Discord, you can see we've got a Creative Challenge section, challenge feedback. All you have to do is drag this in, just drag the PNG right in and say challenge 2 for March, and you hit enter, and that's going to upload, and everybody's going to be able to see your work, leave comments, leave feedback, etc. And if we scroll up, we'll actually take a look. We've got Robert here. I think Robert's in the chat. Robert, I really appreciate y'all doing the 3D challenge. I know it was like extra challenging, but Robert even added skylights to his, which is so awesome. And then I know that we've got Kevin as well up here in the chat, did their donuts as well. So very cool to see. Thanks everybody for sharing their work. But that is gonna be it. No, everybody's cool. Looks cool, Jack. Thanks. That's gonna be it for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. For a skills challenge in Illustrator, we went over the Intertwine tool, we went over the appearance panel, we went over some basic shapes, we went over some repeats. We're live once a week on Tuesdays at 12 p.m. Pacific at behance.net/Adobe Live and on the Adobe Live YouTube. Hold on, I've got one question I want to make sure we answer before we get signed off. Penny's saying I'm still... Oh, Penny's talking about the Neo stuff. Yeah. I know last week was a little chaotic, but I hope you enjoy. I really wanted to do the Project Neo stuff. I think it's interesting, so I hope you enjoyed that challenge, even if it was a lot. But stay tuned. We've got more live content coming up right after me. I think we've got the Photoshop challenge coming up with Val, and I hope to see all of your challenges and see what you do for this one. All right, bye, everyone.